Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
I think there's moments where they're excellent, right? But you can't give up, 286 yards rushing and sit here and, start praising that, the group. At one point, they were 1 for 9 until the second to last drive, right? And then they had 3 third downs. And, we had a free hitter to tackle the guy on both of them. That's not me calling the guys out. That's the guys would say that to you, right? We have a chance to make those plays. And that's the slippery slope that we're on right now. And as a head coach, it's very difficult to get up here and, tell the truth without feeling like you're throwing the guys over and have it not be something sarcastic, said back to you. It's like, I want to tell you guys the truth, but it's like, they run a screen, we're dropping a guy in them. He's just got to go make that play, and then you'll win the game. And that's not calling that guy out because there's about 50 of those plays. We ran 2 screens on third down where their guy made the play. And so I hate to just say, hey, it's this one group or it's this one guy. So I think there's a lot of good things there, but it's not good enough. And that's the important message, is that we have to get better as we move forward. But we've faced a really good team early on in the schedule. We've had 2 close games. We won 1 by 3. We lost 1 by 3. And neither one did I feel the panic that I felt for 2 years here from the guys on the sidelines. You can be really angry that we lost the game. That's how I feel, just so we're on the same page. I'm really angry that we lost the game, but I also have to recognize, hey, there's things we're doing well. There's other things we're not fixing. It just can't be just, the D-line stinks, right? It's just because that takes the pressure off everybody else. Like it's all 11 guys out there that all have to make these plays for us to be successful.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, David Gathers, and I'm with Honky.
It's a disaster! Oh my God, everybody run! The Huskers lost to Michigan. Who could have possibly thought it was going to happen by 3 points? Run! Fire everybody! Hey, how you doing, Dave? Been a little while. Good to see you.
I'm doing good. I guess that's your bucket hat, disaster hat there, right? Because it's just, I understand. Yeah. Also with Boomer.
Well, Dave, glad to see you here. I do have an early question we got in. Someone is asking if we wish we'd added another podcaster in hindsight, during the off season. And I just kind of want to address that. We're really excited with the room we've got here. We're happy with the guys and all we've got. Just want to also be honest, at some podcasts have paid a lot more money than we have. I mean, there's $40 million podcasts out there. So, if any of you want to get in, write a check, then you can talk to us about whatever you want. But, that's just kind of the nature of it now. So,
Boomer, I heard there's $40 podcasts too.
Well, that too. Yeah. We're closer to that end, Dave. So, yeah.
Also with Abby.
Yeah. Well, on this day, this National Volleyball Day, I just want to take the time, Boomer, on that same note, to tell you that I'm really happy that volleyball continues to steal money from football. I'm really sorry that that's why our football team lost.
Honky, I just gotta say that I'm a man. I'm over 40 and I still have a job.
But there are places that are worse off than us right now. Isn't that right, Stillwater? Oh,
that's right.
Buckets. Yeah,
that's right.
This was an interesting week of football, wasn't it?
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
But, I think part of this beginning here is we want to talk a little bit as we get into tweets of the week here. I think we want to talk a little bit about, Husker reaction to a 3-point loss. And we can have honest discussions, I think, as Coach Rule talked about in that opening video there. There are clearly areas that we need to improve. There's also real teachable moments that come out of this game, some things that can help us down the road. My goodness. I mean, what did we say last week during the show? We said we need to play a team like Michigan right now. We played the first 3 games. A couple of them were against Patsies that we knew we were going to run all over. And Cincinnati, we won by 3, and it was a good first game opener of the season. But my goodness, we need to play like Michigan, see where we're at, play a team like Michigan. I think we've seen a little bit where we're at right now. And we know what we need to improve on. And we also did some things okay, too. You don't lose by 3 points by just completely getting destroyed in every facet of the game. So,
yeah, absolutely. And there's, 2/3 of this regular season left here. So a lot of opportunity out there to still win football games. And we can't let this Michigan loss snowball into something that's much bigger, because I think this team has got a lot more wins in them.
Mm-hmm. Well, should we get over to tweets of the week then to get it going?
Let's roll.
All right, let's do it. And let's start here. Abby, I'm going to start with you. And this is Message Board Geniuses. We love those guys. They've been on the show in the past. And, of course, it was meltdown alert. Nebraska's down 10-0 in the first quarter. They are not back. And there was some different posts from that. But it was more than just post on a message board. We saw it on social media, not to be surprised that the Husker fan base is going to get after a loss. We understand it. But we lost by 3, right? Is this overboard? I mean, what were the expectations, I guess, of people coming into this game?
My God, you'd think we were blown like off the field. And I get it. I think I even like broke my rule of not tweeting during games to just say, like, look, very honestly, when we were down 10-0, there was a point where I think a lot of us were like, and I said it, like, this game could get real sideways real fast. And then look what happened. We fought back. Okay, great. We tied it back up, and then we got kind of sideways real fast again, and then we fought back. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that they were 2.5-point favorites over us. They were a ranked team. They clearly, like, I love all of our guys, but they had better players on the lines than we did. That's fine. We knew they were going to be able to run. We knew our run defense wasn't that good. We knew that. So, like, you had to kind of know some of this was going to happen. It was still very, like, disheartening at times, very frustrating at times, but it feels like maybe reacting the way we did to Houston Christian and Akron and reacting the way we did to Michigan, both not the best ways to react to a single data point, which essentially Akron is a single data point, right? Like, if you just looked at our Cincinnati game, you could be like, yeah, that's kind of how this Michigan game's not that surprising. Like, and I know that's like whatever, 2020 hindsight, whatever, but like, I don't know, guys, like, we didn't play that well against the run against Cincinnati, and we're playing against a better running team. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, in the moment, I was disappointed. I was frustrated. I thought, like, oh, we could do it. Maybe we can do this. Like, there were lots of things. There was like, maybe we can. But when we didn't, it was like, okay, yep, that's disappointing, but also not that surprising. And also one of our better showings in terms of like getting punched in the face and punching back. And so it was all very, it was almost more frustrating being on Twitter afterwards, because it was like, you guys, someday we'll learn, and we won't, but someday.
Right. Well, Dave, you don't go on Twitter, and God bless you for not doing it.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah. I mean, what was your instant reaction to this game? Did this game blow you away in terms of being shocked by it, or was it kind of what you expected? Were you disappointed? Were you happy with the fight back? I mean, where were you at with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely happy with the resilience of the team. I feel like the game script was very predictable, really, honestly. It feels like if you would have told me that we weren't efficient in the red zone in the first quarter, and we get down to Michigan, and then we kind of go back and forth. If you told me that they were better on both offensive and defensive line than us, if you told me that we threw the ball a lot more than they did and they ran more than us, I'd be like, oh, that all sounds about right. And to Abby's point, whether we opened at 2.5 and closed at 1.5 dogs, that's about what it was, right? The trick here is, how does this team get better where some of those weaknesses were exposed in this game by the time November gets around here?
Yeah, I mean, Boomer, I guess some of this discussion right now is about, was this overblown frustration? Husker fans, I get that this was the 28th straight loss to a ranked team. I totally get it. I've never heard that before until, this week. But we can't just keep adding that every single time that we play a game. It does no good to be frustrated about 28 straight games when the coaching staff and the team that's part of this had nothing to do with 20+ of those ones anyways. I mean, I look at this as I went with Mac to the game, And I've taken him to 2 games during the last 3 years while I've had tickets. I took him to Oklahoma 2 years ago. We left with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Took him to the Michigan game 2 seasons ago. I think we left with more time than that on the clock still because we were nowhere near playing a 4-quarter game. Last week, I said on the show that I expect us to play a 4-quarter game. We played one, and we didn't win it, but we lost by 3. We have some warts that we have to fix, and I think are fixable. But Boomer, I mean, are you alarmed by this? I mean, is all your preseason predictions go away because of this game?
No, I don't necessarily think they do. I mean, part of that just because the schedule doesn't look like it is even as challenging as we thought it could be to start the season. We play some very bad teams who are already lacking coaches. So, in terms of just the overall record, I think it's still, achievable what we kind of set out, kind of an 8-win floor, hope for the team, 9 or 10 possibility. The game does really kind of bring into kind of raise those questions about, how effective are we going to be against the run? Because if we looked at that initial game against Cincinnati, they moved the ball on us pretty well on the ground. And, that was just first game. Don't know anything about it. Then we have our 2, pre-purchased victories that we kind of slid in for our glorified scrimmages. And, that's my big concern with playing, 2 of those games back to back is what do you learn? And is that masking a whole lot of deficiencies? And I think it did. I mean, of course, we look great playing those teams because, of course, you're going to look great playing those teams. We talk about $40 million rosters. They might have a $40 roster, teams like Houston Christian and Akron. So, that's the trouble with those games. And it kind of can build some false expectations, I think, if people just embrace those for this is what the team is. So, when you look at the 2 Power 4 performances, it can fairly raise some concern, I think, with where we're at going forward. We've had 2 Power 4 games, and the run defense has been susceptible in both of them. And the passing defense was good, but they weren't great passing quarterbacks. Granted, I don't know how many good passing quarterbacks we're going to see this year, but but there are some questions that what is this team going to be able to fix going on the rest of the year? We're a quarter of the way through it already. At some point, you are what you are. We every game is one data point, but at some point, all those points become a set, and this is a trend, and this is what we are. And it can be frustrating. I get the whole, the 28 in a row. It isn't fair to pin on this staff. This staff has its own things. We can try to say, okay, here's their problem. They haven't won, 8 games or so against ranked teams, give or take. And have we won a conference opener with Rule yet? I mean, those are the things that concern me a little more than, the previous 20 games or whatever that against ranked teams that we didn't win. So just looking at what the staff itself has done, we can criticize things there. We don't have to bring up the past. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's anytime you have a loss, I mean, that's completely fair, and that's to criticize. I mean, no one here is arguing that you can't criticize after a loss. I mean, that's part of being a fan as well too. But I wanted to throw this little. It's been a while since we've done the public service announcement that producer Skip created a couple years ago. It's called SOOT, SOOT, stay off of Twitter, and it's for that fan that's maybe ready to go a little bit too overboard, with their frustration after a loss. And so let's play it here.
And now a Husker fan public service announcement.
Hey, Husker fans. Another game day loss got you down? Feeling like you need to blow off that L-column frustration? What better place to go than
Twitter? I'm gonna log on and do some tweets!
Wait, no. You interrupted me there. I don't think you should go on Twitter and
tell them who should be fired. Somebody better be fired.
Yeah, someone definitely needs to be fired for this.
Well, I've got a new and better option for you.
I'm gonna get on the Twitters and I'm gonna tweet at them directly.
Yeah, as a grown man, I'm gonna tweet this 20-year-old and tell them exactly what I think of them. Gonna be sure to go public with my unhappiness because that will finally get it fixed. Oh, my great-grand island, no! Man, does this sound like you? Well, folks, help is on the way. The next time your game rage wants to burst through your blowhole via your thumb muscles, pull an audible, and instead grab a nice cold frothy glass of Stay Off of Twitter, otherwise known by its acronym of SOOT. That's SOOT. Stay off of Twitter. SOOT is a scientifically tested and proven method that helps with your game day blues, as well as preserve your personal integrity going forward. So next time a fumble has you ready to go public with your angry mumble, let SOOT intercept that impulse as you go ahead and pay us on that tweet. See what I did there? This has been a Husker fan public service announcement brought to you by the Association of a Level-Headed Tomorrow.
Oh, I forgot about food.
You should never forget about Suit, even though it's X now or whatever.
Yeah, how would you say that now?
Yeah, Suits doesn't work. We'll stick with Suit. So
Yeah, we'll stick with that. Well, I think all of this is a preface to all the tweets that we're now going to go through during the tweets of the week, where we can talk about things that frustrated us, areas that we think we can improve on, areas that we didn't do as well in, things that we did fine in. I think there's a lot of truth in between all that. And I think we can even talk through some things that would make you feel that this game in some ways was worse than it was and better than it was. This was a nuanced game. And I'm going to start with the very first one here. It's the tweet, Huskers, it's from halftime, and it's their coach, Poggi, was that it? Yeah, physically, we're beating the snot out of them. And that's what he said at halftime. He's not wrong. They were beating the snot out of us. And Mac and I were at the game, and I think it looked worse, honestly, in person than it looked on TV when I watched it later. They were pushing us around on the O-line. They're beating us up on the defensive line. They tackled so much better than we did. And we lost by 3. I mean, I'm going to keep coming back to that throughout the entire show, that everything that we didn't do very well, and we lost by 3. And Michigan fan will tell you, oh my gosh, we left these points and this point. We could have blown you out by double digits. You should have. Mac and I walked out of the stadium, and we said that we felt that this was a double-digit, double score loss. That's what it felt like just watching it. If I didn't know what was on the uniforms, the team that ran for 300 yards looked a lot more physical and tackled better than the team that threw for 300 yards. And we lost by 3. And I know that Michigan played this awful, terrible game where they could have scored so many more points, and we played the most perfect game. Never mind that we didn't kick a field goal on the first drive. That was 3 points we could have scored. Never mind we had a field goal kicker that has been extremely consistent, and I'm very excited about what he's going to do the rest of the season. I think he's a very good kicker for us. He made a 50-plus yarder at Arrowhead, missed a very makeable kick early on. That was 3 points that Michigan didn't do anything to cause. We had a receiver run out of the end zone and come back in and catch it, and took off a touchdown. We kicked a field goal. That same kicker came in and made a field goal later, but that's 4 points that we didn't score. And yet I say all of that, and we still to me feels like we lost by double digits, the way that we played, the way we got pushed around. I think it's fair to say all that. And we lost by 3. That same guy, Mac, who's gone to me to games at Oklahoma or with Oklahoma and Michigan, and we've been boat raced out of the stadium by midway through the second quarter. You can't tell me that we're not making progress, or that this isn't better, or that this game somehow dooms us. I mean, my gosh, I think we're going to turn around from this, and I think we're going to play much more physical. I think we're going to play a much more. I think how the team responds to this is as important as anything. And I guess, Dave, that takes me to the next tweet, and I want to show it to you here, and I'll go to you with it. And it is from Emmett Johnson here. And this quote, this is from Randy Silver TV. Those guys in the locker room are going to play pissed off next week. Don't worry at all. We have a lot more football ahead. That's from Emmett Johnson. All right. So I just kind of did all the preface. I think we got beat up. I think physically Michigan did some things to us. I don't think a lot of teams on the schedule can do the same way that Michigan did, to be quite honest. But that's irregardless. We got beat up. But here's Emmett saying these guys are going to play pissed off next week. I mean, what kind of response do you expect to see from this team after the bye and playing Michigan State there in homecoming?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously it feels like there's opportunity right around the corner, and it starts against Michigan State. To Boomer's point earlier, there's a lot of games out there that are very gettable, and there's no reason that we need to be looking at this schedule and thinking that we can't win our fair share. You just said it there. I don't know how many other teams on our schedule are going to do what Michigan just did to us, right? And we'll find out, right? And I mean, we can point to a few of the obvious: Iowa, Penn State, offensive lines are, that's going to be a concern. But those are late. That's November. Maybe that D line, matures at that point, right? So. Yeah, we've got a lot of wins out there. I mean, the schedule is a little topsy-turvy in the sense that, Maryland might actually be better than what we thought, right? So like we better be ready to go play that game on the East Coast in a few weeks too, right? So the schedule always evolves as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, do we still believe that this is a staff that's going to get this team developed as the year goes on, that we're going to improve from game to game? I mean, that's a big piece of this. I look at Penn State and Michigan on a similar level and from a talent perspective and what they physically want to do to you. USC has, I think, a lot of talent. I don't think USC can do to us what Michigan just did in the style that Michigan did. This was very
they won't even try.
Yeah, this is very much a game of styles.
USC can be challenging because their quarterback can actually throw and run, unlike Bryce, who must run. Like that's where USC is going to get us. But you're right. Like from like a physicality, like trench perspective, I think you're right. They're a little different there.
And I think Minnesota and Iowa absolutely will want to physically try to do to us what Michigan did. And in some ways they can have some success, but we should improve as the year goes on. They also don't have the talent that Michigan has.
No.
And so that's where I really look at Penn State as it'll be another litmus test. And hopefully we have quite a few W's under our belt by the time we're playing out at Penn State. And it's another litmus test of a very talented physical team. By the time we get to that point, we're playing them. Where are we at in our progression? Again, as we get through some of these tweets, we're going to see some things that are maybe X's and O's related that we can change up during the season. I mean, I think that's one of the things. I always think back to Coach Osborne and Barry Switzer. They were a great rivalry between those two men. Very different. Osborne was the X's and O's guys, and when I look at Switzer was the Jimmy and Joe's. And what's more important? And I usually think that the truth is somewhere in between. And I look at those guys and I look at this game, and X's and O's wise, we're doing some things I'd like to see us do a little more of and a little less of. Offensively, I'd like to see us roll Dylan a little bit more out of the pocket.
Yeah.
He is as dangerous as any quarterback I've seen in college football, throwing the ball outside the pocket. I used to say roll the guys out because we had mobile QBs. It's not that Dylan's this crazy mobile QB, but he can throw the ball as well on the run, doing the Mahomes things that he does. He's trained to do that. It puts stress on defense. I'd like to see more of that. Defensively, I'd like to see less of the stunting that we're doing on the D-line. We mentioned that after the Cincinnati game. And Boomer, to your point, the last two games, we went away from a lot of that. We were doing more just straight up defense. I didn't see nearly the amount of stunts in the last two games. Then we kind of brought them out here, and we have a tweet or two that we can show of where we're stunning ourselves out of position. That's a more nuanced conversation than boy they just beat us up.
Yeah.
But to Coach Rule's audio at the beginning of this, we throw a couple screens and they tackle every time.
Yeah.
Damon Benning said tonight on Big Red Wrap Up, I think he said that we had 76 plays and they had 40 solo tackles. That's insane. That's a team that, give Michigan credit, just flat out give them credit. They tackled so well, and we got to break a tackle or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go over the X's and O's, but how about the Jimmy and Joe's piece of this? What did Barney show you in this game? That guy's a player. Yeah. And he catch a ball and he would make a guy miss. If I'm Key, if I'm Hunter, if I'm these other really good transfers that we brought in, I'm watching the film of that and going, I need to do some of that too. Emmett, who's going to play pissed off next week, and I know he will. He had some opportunities in open field to make some of the same plays that Michigan's running backs made in open field, and he didn't. Yeah. I like Emmett. This isn't I'm not saying fire Emmett, get rid of him. I'm just saying that this is an opportunity for these guys to play a lot better next time.
Yeah. Honk, to your point about Dane Key and Hunter, I've read quite a bit about how Raiola is better against zone defense than man coverage. I don't know how much you watched the defensive scheme against us, how much Michigan played man. I'm wondering if again, trying to compare Michigan to other future opponents here, how good their cornerbacks maybe were against Key and Hunter, which, led to Barney's a little bit of his success because they were taking away Key and Hunter with man coverage.
Well, and I was reading stuff where they were saying there was a bunch of zone that Michigan was running out there too. Yeah. And so teams are gonna. What's funny is, and we'll show some stats here later with Dylan. Okay, run zone. Okay, run man. All right, bring a ton of pressure on him. You did all last week. his stats also, for if you want to talk about data points, he's done this for 4 straight games now. He showed me so much. I mean, we talk about Jimmy's and Joe's. We know that Dylan has talent. We know he was a big recruit. He showed so much in that game. That game against Michigan, that is one of the first times on a real national stage we've seen him under fire the whole time. And he kept showing up. He kept finding ways to get out of a pocket that wasn't there. Now, again, I think things that Holgerson and this offensive staff can do to help him out by rolling him out. When he gets out of the pocket and he throws, sidearm, normally I shriek if you have a quarterback doing that. This is what he's comfortable doing, though. He's really good doing that. And so I look at like Michigan. I watched that game and I think I like Michigan's offense. I like their mobile QB. That's the style I like to play. I prefer that, just a preference over what we're doing. But what we're doing, none of that, nothing I just said is an indictment of Dylan. I'm blown away by what Dylan did. I think Dylan's playing outstanding. He's fine. He's creating extra seconds when he can. That throw on the first drive when he found Lindemeyer and he's rolling out to the left and he throws back across. And I mean, the angle we had watching that, it was just perfect watching how it opened up. And Dylan, it wasn't like a lucky throw that he did. He's watching it the whole time. You can see it. You could see that he saw this thing was opening up. He had complete control out there when he didn't have 6 guys on his back. And so I'm comfortable in what he's going to do. I do think that some of the other guys, Barney showed an example of somebody who's just a gamer, whether it was the touchdown pass, touchdown catch across the middle, or it's the Hail Mary, or it's the punt return that he catches off the bounce and he takes it for 20 yards. Like, he wanted the ball in his hand. He wanted to be a gamer there. And he showed something there. That's a Jimmy and a Joe there. I think McCullough on defense showed something. That guy, for the first time here this season, he was hitting hard. He was hitting like a Michigan defender was hitting. And Donovan Jones, I love what that guy plays with. I think Archie as a punter, that guy came out there and I know it's a punter, but holy smokes, the guy, he's a gamer out there too. And so we've got some guys that showed something in this game. They did, but we just need to see more of it. Boomer, let's get to a very specific, X's and O's question. This one comes from Jeffrey the Greek with Eyes on Big podcast. He said, honest question, Husker fans, should Rule have kicked a field goal on that first possession? I thought going forward on 4th and 2 was the correct call. The offense was humming on that first drive.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion's well known on this. I tweeted it during the game before that 4th down play. It's take the 3 points, especially, in a game like this. I know the emotion is there. You want to, convert that touchdown pass and get that early 7-point lead, which is what Oklahoma did when they played, Michigan. They took that opening drive down and scored 7, and then Michigan was kind of, forced to play catch up that entire game. But I think especially from our perspective, we do struggle in the red zone, and, we do want to get that touchdown, but we've known that's been a problem. So I think at that point, you take the 3, especially when, you just look at what was the theme of our, a lot of our podcasts and films and everything last year was chasing 3, that we just need 3 points to win those games. Well, there was your 3 points right there. And, what was this, a 3-point game? So, it might be different if it's a game against, Minnesota or a Maryland or whomever, where you think you might be able to overwhelm them in the long run just based on personnel. But in Michigan, these points are going to be at a premium and you're going to want everything you can get. And you've just got to take the 3 there. I mean, it's early. I think Rob had mentioned, you don't win a game necessarily in the first quarter, but you can lose it. And, this is just another way of how you do that. You miss out on scoring opportunities. You brought up all the different points in the game where, we could have scored this or could have done that. Michigan has all their examples depending on who it is. But, this is one you really could have controlled. That should have been a pretty automatic field goal from that distance. And, points at a premium early, just take them. And I know the emotions there, especially at home with that crowd to get that early touchdown, but you just got to take the 3. I mean, especially where we're at as a program, you're just trying to get that win and get that elusive win against a ranked Michigan. Just take it there. So.
Well, Abby, I was actually going to hand it over to you there. What do you think on that?
I agree, and I think I also tweeted during the point, like, you just take your points, just take your point. How often have we learned this? You know what I mean? Like. Mm-hmm. I saw somebody replied to one of my tweets about was it John Madden, who said, like, it's hard to be the first one to break the ice, but that's what you have to do. So you get your points, you play from ahead. And yes, they could have gone. Somebody else was just like, well, but then we wouldn't have trapped them down at the end zone, and then we wouldn't have gotten that 4 and out. We would, yeah, I have all that. I understand all of that could have been different. You still would have been playing with a lead. And on top of that, I have a couple thoughts. Sorry, I'm gonna take this over for a second.
Go for it.
Secondly, I agree with that one that Jeffrey was quote tweeting, which I hate to put the words agree and Jeffrey in the same sentence. But that was just like, what was that play calling? Like, why do we keep throwing a fade route to the end zone when how often has that worked for anybody? Like, that just is such a low efficiency play. It felt like that what we tried to do on that 4th and 2 is what we should have done on like 3rd and 2 or whatever. Like, there was some questionable play calling that led us to that 4th and 2 that by the time we got there, it was just like, just take it. Like, look, what we've been trying to do hasn't been working. So just get it. And third, for everybody, and I am going to, sorry, sacrilegious, I don't care, disagree with Matt Rule, where he says, oh, the analytics say go for it on 4th and 2. Great. Analytics don't take context into account. It is just numbers. So yeah, if you're 4th and 2 and your offense is effective in the red zone and you can stop their defense and you think you can get, then yeah, go for it. But I've watched games where teams are on like the 40, 4th and 2, and they're like, the commentators are like, analytics should go for it. It's like, that's the stupidest thing. Why would you listen to analytics there? So I just feel like sometimes we get so caught up in like, well, analytics say that it like takes like your own like thinking out of it of just like, sure, you should be able to convert a 4th and 2. Can we though? Like there's things about it where it's like I think people sometimes get blinded by numbers and they don't like think about things. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just like with your team makeup and how we've been playing in the red zone. And like, you knew this, like you said, this was going to be a hard team to get a lot of points against. Why? It is my least, as somebody who likes analytics and tends to kind of like see value in them. It is the most frustrating thing when it's just like, well, analytics say, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of analytics, but Dave has one, and I'm going to ask you about this, Dave. Yards per point. Points are good. And when you go 80 yards down the field and you walk away with nothing, you get 0 yards per point there. Made me think, and when Mac and I were watching it live before it ever happened, we were sitting there saying, no, kick. Even if you make the first down, I'll take it on me that I'm saying the wrong thing, right? Or that I'm wrong, but kick it. And I go back to what Coach Rule said last week in the press conference. He said how the importance of scoring in the red zone. I go back to the last time, or 2021, when we played Michigan, Coach Frost. We went down the field. That was the year that we had just beat Northwestern. We were 3-3. We go down the field and we go for it on 4th and we don't get it. And that was a chance to put Michigan down that year to have to be trailing for the first time. They'd never been down that whole season. We could have been up 3-0. Now, back then we had a questionable kicker. We don't have that this year. That wasn't a concern there. And so what was the one thing that we never did have in this game? As much fight as we had, we never once had the lead. And teams play different when they're down. And so, Dave, I mean, that yards per play, yards per point and everything, to walk away, when I hear people say, yeah, we walked away with that drive, but then we held them down there. Okay, fine. But then they punted and then we still didn't score. And so we still end up with 0 yards per point out of that whole first 2-3 drive scenario.
That is correct. Yes. Yeah, I mean, obviously the YPP is not good right there, right? We probably just gained about a little over 100 yards on those 2 first drives. It came up with 0 points. Overall, the Boomer, maybe you can look this up, but the yards per point offensive was probably okay in this game, 27 points and probably about 400 yards of offense because we didn't have that much running. But yeah, I mean, I hear everyone here. I actually am the contrarian here. I thought it was fine going for it in 4th and 2. There's other situations there, right? You're at home. Sure. You obviously trusted your defense that because of a loud crowd in that end zone that you probably could hold them. You expected that, and that they did it. You also have a good kicker. You just mentioned that, Honky. And fact is, he should have made the 44-yarder. He's I mean, there's no way he should have missed that field goal. I mean, I don't know how this conversation would be going right now if we went for it, then we got the ball back, and he made the kick at 44 yards. We'd be having a very different conversation, because that's exactly why they did it. Because they're like, we can hold them, we can get the ball back in their territory, and even if we just get a field goal there, it'd be the exact same thing of getting the field goal at the 3-yard line. He missed the field goal, right? That's a field goal that not all field goals are created equal, and that missed field goal was a lot worse than others, because then their field goal kicker made a 55-yarder, right?
Yeah,
and right, and that hurt. So
yeah, no, I think that's a completely fair way to play the whole context of that, Dave. I actually, my biggest issue out of the whole thing would go back to what Abby said on the second down. The second down fade, to me, was such a throwaway play.
It's a whole other story.
Yeah. What ended up being the third down run should be on second down. The fourth down shovel should be the third down play. And my whole thing is, I never look at going for it on fourth downs being aggressive, because you have 3 downs before that to be aggressive. Be as aggressive as you want on first and second and third down. And when you don't get it, especially early on when you just want to get points. But your point's taken there, Dave, that the scenario that they wanted actually did play out. We held them. They punted it to us. We had the ball where we wanted to have it. We should have made that field goal. And a kicker who made 2 others in that game and has made all the other ones this season, and I think is going to be a very good kicker. So again, this, nobody needs to go tweet at the kid and tell him that he's, terrible or anything like that. He missed that first punt, that first kick, and it just set us off. It set us back in a quarter where, you go back to what I say earlier, the game felt like they beat us by 2 touchdowns or double digits. But really, if you watch that first quarter, it felt like we were ahead at the end of the first quarter, the way that the game was playing, the way that we were on their side of the field most of the time, the way that our defense got that 3 and out, and we were winning those first couple of possessions. It's just the yards per point. We walk away at the end of the first quarter down 10-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's some positive things here, right? We came back 17-7 in the second quarter to tie it up. I mean, there kept being a way to fight back. I want to show the next tweet here, and this gets into some of the X's and O's pieces of it. And this is from Do Number or pound sign, whatever, I don't know, Michigan person. The left side of the line gets help from the defensive play call. The defensive tackle is going to twist outside. And then these are his players, Crippen, or Michigan players, Crippen, Afobe, and Link wall it off. Then Crippen works upfield to the linebacker. Justice Haynes does the rest. Hughes answered after Nebraska tied the game. So as you watch this play here, sure enough, I think that's Van Poppel. Or is that? I want to see it again. No, I think that's Judy. Yeah, our tackle just twist themselves out of the play. And I've seen that a number of times against Cincinnati as well. I mean, look, these coaches, Phil Snow and Butler, these guys have forgotten more football than I'll ever know. So they don't need a podcaster to teach them defense by any means. That's not my point here, but they've got to be seeing this too. I mean, when we did our breakdown after the Cincinnati game, it was like the second play of the game against Cincinnati. Judy gets pushed back 15 yards, but it's not because he's, in bad. It's not because he's not strong enough to go against the guy. He literally gets hit from the side running a stunt, and he just gets pushed back literally from the side the whole time. And the point is, when we're stunning ourselves into some of these spots here, we're creating some big holes too. There were some plays I saw Gabe Moore just bull rush right up the gut, taking on 2 blockers and getting into the backfield and just taking up space. And it was like, he was very effective in what he was doing, just going straight at him. I'd like to see us unless we get better at this. And I'm not seeing that so far this season. It seems like we're just moving ourselves and they're kind of cutting off of it. I don't know. Dave, I mean, you're looking at that. What do you see when you watch how our defense, our front 7 is playing that?
Yeah.
I mean, let alone the tackle miss, but
yeah. Is that Shaver? I think is coming in right
well,
there.
that one's Buford. And that's it.
Buford.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot that went wrong with that, right? And yeah, I mean, I don't know why that. I mean, let's put it this way. I think Michigan's seen that on tape and they took advantage of it, right? Yeah. And they definitely went back to that a couple of different times. It felt like so. Yeah, they need to change it, right? I don't know how. I'm not the defensive line coach. But yeah, It needs to get better.
Yeah, the defensive end is literally he's trying to crash down. You can tell, and then he's getting double teamed back, and our D tackle runs into that, and then those two guys just push our. I mean, it's unfortunate because it's almost comical to watch the way it went.
We played right into the block.
They ran right into that. Shavers kind of cut it inside. My thing is there are so many teachable moments from that play there. And I guess I want to really see what this looks like the next game now against Michigan State. What do we take away from some of this? Because this is Michigan was physical enough on their own, but this looked like we were helping them out, assisting them with how we were moving around there.
So hockey, hopefully for some reason I went out.
No, do you want that back up?
No, it's fine. When you said teachable moments, what's the teachable moment there for Judy, right? Because he's doing what he was supposed to do, right?
Well, he can't even get around that guy because the DN's
right, but that was his assignment, though. He was supposed to do the twist, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's basically running into a DN that's getting doubled back, and he can't even get around. He can't even get around the twist there. And so you have this gaping hole that gets created by us moving, number one, by us moving and creating that hole. And then Shavers is in a really tough spot there. And they have three linemen that are essentially blocking two, and number 51 there could just cut off that real easy because 51 and 53 or 55 are trying to double Judy, but they don't even need to because Judy ran into the DN. So then 51 cuts off of that, has a real easy angle on Shavers. And that's a tough play for Buford to make there 10 yards down the field when he has Haynes coming at him full speed. And that's an open field tackle. Now you'd like to see him make it, obviously, but that's a tough play also for him. It's about as big of a disaster as you can have. And that's how you have a 75-yard play go pretty much untouched.
Yep. That's right. I mean, at least three guys essentially took themselves out of that. At least.
Yes.
You could argue Judy, Shavers, and Buford all made mistakes there.
Yes. And so, that's one of those things where we'll have to see how they keep playing that defensively as the season goes on. But every team, that's not much different than what we saw against Cincinnati in some ways. And so what the team, how does this defense, how does the staff, how do they adjust to that moving forward? I would be surprised to see us continue to put ourselves in those situations as the season goes on. I'll put it that way. Boomer. This one is also from #, the Michigan guy. And he goes, thankfully, the receiver Orlovsky this Nebraska field goal makes it 27-20 at the end of the third. And this is Hunter running to the back of the end zone. And there's been a lot of talk about there's now red behind the end zone. So the end zone is red. The area behind it is. Michigan themselves didn't do anything to cause this. Looks like our guy ran out of bounds and maybe just didn't see the difference. I don't know. What's your take watching this video here?
Yeah, that's tough to say. It is a big, thick white line, which in theory should demarcate, the end of your end zone. But just, having that red patch back there, I don't really understand why you would even do that. And just from a aesthetic perspective, it just seems weird having that extra red extend beyond that. Just paint it green just to eliminate that possibility. But yeah, that was
for goodness sakes.
Yeah, that was a disappointing play. It was there. You had the opportunity. You just cut a little more inside, and that's a touchdown. And it could be, again, it's just another one of those. It's a completely different game if this play happens. Like Rule said, there's 45 different plays or so that he wanted to point out that were game changers, and I'm sure Michigan could do the same thing. Here's 40 different plays they could have, and it would have been a blowout, kind of thing. It's just, these things you've just got to be aware of. It's just an example of just having to be aware of where you're at on the field. We didn't mention it, but it was kind of one of the, with special teams earlier, this was a mixed bag again this week. We had, field goal that we missed, and, I like, the aggression on punt returns, but we had the one where he fielded, inside the 5, whatever we have on the 2. And that was a 3 and out essentially until that stupid taunting penalty that Michigan had in themselves that bailed us out, and we got a field goal on it. So
Yeah.
You just got to be aware of where you're at on a field, and a lot of that's just repetition and just being alert of where it is. And if that red on beyond the end zone's a problem, just paint it green. For the love of God, I don't know why it's red to start with, but
as a coach, Honky, how would you critique that route running from Hunter?
Well, my concern a little bit is that he never once seemed concerned the way that he's running it here. Let me bring it back up. I mean, there doesn't look like there's a concern to him that he's even that close to being out. Like his foot hits kind of the white and then he continues to go out and hit the red. I just don't know. I mean, from a visual standpoint, the route seems fine. I mean, he beat the guy and he could. I get the sense that if he felt that he needed to cut that harder, he would have cut it harder.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
like
my
he's
question.
being
It seems very rounded, and to your point, he didn't feel like he needed to cut harder. But yeah, maybe more disciplined route running would have resulted in a different outcome. But you're right. Visually, it does not look like he knew he was out of bounds.
Well, and I think, Abby, I'll bring you back into this here with this. This gets back to everything we're saying here. We got out physical. We didn't tackle as well. All these things. We lost by 3. And we didn't lose by 3 because we played a perfect game where every single break went our way. And that's how we're so lucky to lose by 3. We missed a field goal that was very makeable. They made an incredible field goal from 20 yards further than that. We have this play here where, we catch this touchdown instead of kicking a field goal later. That's 4 more points that we could have had. And the point is, none of that changes the outcome. None of it changes that we have to get that much more physical and tackle better and block better. But I mean, we didn't play a perfect game by any means, and we lost by 3.
Yeah, part of that makes it worse.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of me that's just like, yeah, but what if we had just played just like a little bit better? Yeah, I mean, I think I will say this. I think that there, to me, is a little positive out of that, because I just think, like, what if we had played our absolute best game, our tightest, like, no mistakes, did it all, still lost by 3? Like, I feel like that would maybe be a little bit harder to, like, swallow. I don't know. This is just mental gymnastics we all do, I think, at times. But I do think, like, there's some benefit to it of just, like, okay, if we don't, okay, so it's that thing of, like, if you have 2 people who run to first at the same speed and one has great form, the other has really bad form, which one do you take? You take the one with bad form because you can, like, make it better and make them faster. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's the Kool-Aid. I don't know what it is, if it's the optimism. But it feels like if you take a team that could play Michigan that close, that fought back, that found where they could exploit Michigan, and whether that was through the air or because they're kind of an undisciplined team apparently, or that one kid is an undisciplined player, very typical Michigan man. But I don't know, they found ways that they could. So then does that, like, give, I don't know, does it give some hope that if you tighten some of that up, will we be better? Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's the way that I'm choosing to think about this right now.
I guess I have a question with this whole angle of it, though. I mean, if anything, Nebraska fans, we should be familiar with 1-score losses. It goes back a while now. Is there something about this 1-score loss that makes you feel better than all the other 1-score losses we've had, whether it's under Rule or under Frost? I mean, because we heard for a long time that we're close, we're just right there. And we weren't, apparently, with with the prior regime and earlier. But what about this makes you feel like we're suddenly, close compared to all the other 1-score losses we've had?
I feel like this was, and then this is kind of, I go way back. Well, not maybe way back, but you think about some of those 3-point losses or those 1-score losses under Frost, right? The best 3-9 team we ever had. And how many of those games did we get into, like, a giant hole in the first half and have to just claw our way back from not from down 10, but down like 14, 17, something we just had to, like, and you just, like, you know what I mean? It just never felt like it, or like we were ahead and then lost it. So it never felt like we played a whole game. Whereas this one felt like even when they were up 10-0 and you're just like, oh no, what could happen? They were able to fight back and keep it really until Michigan scored that last touchdown. I think there was still a lot of like, okay, we're in this. Like, okay, we're doing what we're supposed to do and we're keeping up. And it never felt like we were like climbing a mountain to catch them. Now, initially, let me say that the 10-0 did. That first going down 10 at the beginning definitely was just like, oh boy, this is a lot of work. But then once they kind of started getting the offense moving again, it was like, okay, yeah, okay, maybe we can do this. And so I don't know. I feel it was like the in-game moments that for me felt a little bit different than some of our other ones.
Yeah, I would say, a tradition, and this isn't just a Frost era thing. We could, I think there's Riley examples. There's definitely Pelini examples of being a Jekyll and Hyde team, a game where you just play god awful for 2 quarters, pick them, the second half, first half, doesn't matter. We have examples of both ways. Dave, we were out there in Michigan State in 2014, couldn't do a thing for 3 quarters, and we're down 19 or 21 points going into the fourth.
Yeah.
But you just knew that we were going to go on some crazy run and almost win it at the end. I think of Riley when we played Miami that one year, and we just were god awful forever at Miami, and then came back in the fourth quarter for no reason, scored a bunch of touchdowns, get to overtime, only to go and lose it in overtime and throw a bad pick, right? And we can name countless Frost examples. This felt like it was a full game. It felt like it was a back and forth game. It felt like a 4-quarter game. And it felt like a 4-quarter game between 2 teams that want to play 2 completely different styles. And I can go back to my style discussion. I prefer Michigan's style over us. I prefer running the football and physical. And I mean, I always want to be that. I like the mobile QB. That's just the style I like. But that's not a knock on these players who are running the style that they're supposed to do. And like I just said, Dylan, I've got nothing but love for what Dylan did in this game. In fact, Dave, here, I'll show you this. I'll show you these next 2.
Sure.
And we'll kind of continue this conversation that Abby just had there. This is from James Prush. If this is cosplaying Mahomes, give us more of it. Also, Dana, roll him out more. And there's video of Dylan getting out of the pocket, rolling out. He throws it from different, points with the ball. He high points it. He throws sidearms. He throws back across his body. He does a lot of things you probably wouldn't teach a QB to do, but he does them really, really well. And it puts stress on the defense. So you have that on one end of this. And then let me show you this other tweet, and then I'll let you talk here, Dave. This is from Ben Stevens. He says 25 FBS QBs have thrown 1,000 yards or more in 2025. 14 FBS QBs have thrown for 10 touchdowns or more in 25. 5 FBS QBs have 100 completions or more in 25. And only 1 QB has done all that with a 75% plus completion rate as well. Dylan Raiola is 102 of 135, 75.6%, 1,137 yards, 11 TDs, 1 interception. We've talked about data points. That's a lot of data points so far that he's playing at a pretty elite level, right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, geez, if you just took those numbers out, right, you're talking 300 completions, well over 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. That'd be a pretty good year. I would take that. Yeah, we should win a few more games if he keeps that up. It's going to be a little tougher in Big Ten play. Yeah, I think definitely how this feels different a little bit is how the offense responded and did get better at times as the game went on. I'm curious to ask anyone here, like when the offense was stalling a little bit, especially say end of the first quarter, into the second, where we were down 10-0, and Abby's like, boy, it feels like it's a long mountain to climb here. A lot of the routes I was watching with producer Skip actually over at his house. His son just had his 4th birthday, and he was like, all of our routes are just like these sit down routes, like literally all 5 receivers would run 5 yards out, 5 to 10 yards out, turn around and wait for the ball. And it was like Dylan was just supposed to find the most open guy. And even if they did catch it, they were tackled right away, right? To your point of having 40 tackles or whatever. Now, when the offense was humming a little bit more, they let Dylan be more explosive. They rolled him out a bit, deeper balls, all that type of stuff. It felt like that short game. And now I'll tell you right now, I was watching the NFL yesterday, and I saw a lot of those same routes being run by NFL receivers, where they just run up for 5 yards and it's a pitch and catch, and that's it, right? It's almost like a run game to them, I guess. And we saw that versus Cincinnati too. A lot of short passes. If you listen to a lot of the national guys, if they find a criticism right now of Raiolo's numbers, it's because of the yards per pass, like in the air, it's like 2 yards because he throws so many balls behind the line of scrimmage and all this type of stuff. I don't know what Dana and others are seeing in that they stuck with that game plan for so long versus Michigan. I don't know if I'm giving you an answer or a question, Hawk, but I'm a little frustrated right now on some of the play calling offensively because it doesn't feel like it's always leaning into Dylan's strengths, right?
You got to be able to push the ball downfield at some point, especially and you've also got to be able to give the QB enough time to push the ball downfield. And if you can't do that from a pocket or from an empty pocket, then you need to roll the pocket. You need to move him out. I think there's actually a somewhat teachable moment just by watching even the Hail Mary, because I've gone back and watched it a couple times.
Rolls out.
And what does Michigan do? They bring 4 guys. They kind of walk somebody up and then they drop him back and bring a different linebacker. They bring 4, and they are bringing these guys to flush him out. They want to pressure him as much as they did on any other play that whole game on that one play. And we had 1 running back. We had 6 blocking 4, and we very easily got Dylan around to the outside. Now again, it's a different style of defense there. They're playing prevent on the back 7. We get that. But the point is, the whole thing was get him out of the pocket, get him out where he can see things, have a better vision of it, have a little bit more time, which he had all the time in the world, and get the ball downfield. What we've got to find ways to move the pocket if you can't protect in the pocket. And we showed as clear as day, Michigan had defensive ends that were lined up 2-3 yards further outside, and they were just crashing in as hard as they could. That's fine. That's good on them. They succeed on that. We didn't have a good enough running game to offset that. I'd like to see us do things in the run game. We could get into pistol sets. We could get under center more. We ran the ball better under center early in the game. We got a couple first downs running the ball from under center. So there are things that can counter this. And this is funny because this whole conversation is, we're not that far away. I mean, it felt further away watching it because I thought that physically they just tackled so much better and they just blocked so much better and everything. That has to improve. That has to improve. There's no doubt about that. And yet we lost by 3 points. There's something that's going right there too. And maybe I'm just not smart enough to see it all. I don't know why that game felt worse to me, and yet the score was right there at the end, and we didn't play a perfect game either. And I'm very confident in this staff. I'm very confident in this team to get it fixed. I really am. I don't know. I'm curious. We've got a bunch of comments here, Boomer. Is there any questions or any comments from people? Like, I don't know if I'm helping with what I'm saying right now either.
Abby's jumping out of her seat. I think she wants to say something.
Abby, say something.
No, you don't want me to say it. You don't want me to. I got yelled at. After the Akron game, and that's fine. And I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
No, go ahead. This is what the podcast is for. This is a trust-free. You can say whatever you want here. So
I agree about the play calling. I've agreed about the play calling since the UCLA game. Was that our first game after the bye week last year? I've had questions about
the first game with Holgerson was after the bye week.
Yeah, I have questions. That's all I'm going to say is I question why. I don't know, and I don't know enough. I only see what they show on TV, but it's like you said, Dave. Like there were these times where the receivers would just kind of sit back, right? They'd get 5 yards and they'd get tackled right away if they were to catch the ball. Then why are we still doing that? Why is that what's happening? Why aren't we? It's just like there's a part of me that's just like, why aren't we figuring out how to play with the players we have? Why aren't we figuring out how to play an offense with the offensive line we have? I understand they're not good. I mean, we haven't had a good offensive line for like 20 years, it feels like. Why have we not figured out how to play with a not great offensive line? I don't know. Again, it's the question. It's why I'm not an offensive coordinator. It's why I don't call the plays. It's why I don't coach. I understand all of that. I accept all of that. I also am just like, nobody can give me that answer. I never I just get yelled at, but I just want to know.
No, I don't think you should get yelled at for that. I think it's fair to ask these kinds of questions. You know, the one that stood out to me earlier today was when somebody asked, you know, well, who's our number 2 running back? And Will said, yeah, I'm asking my staff the same thing. You were a quarter of the way through the season. You should know who your number 2 running back is by now, shouldn't you? I mean, those are the kind of things that I am disappointed with how the season's progressed, is that you should know that by now. And I know, and Hunky, you said, you know, these things we can fix. I mean, at some point, can you fix some of these things? Because your line is what it is at some point. You know, whether it's,
we're not trying,
maybe we can change the calls, and maybe we don't do some of those stunts and things that we've had, like on the defensive line, or what it is. But at some point, you are what you are. You're just going to have to work around that end of it. I mean,
well, that's what
I guess
you work
what you want to say is fixable and what isn't, you know, during a season. So
yeah, you work around it. You fix it. You know, there is the old what's the old saying?
Work around. Those are kind of two different things, though. I mean, fixing it means that we're going to block well and we're not going to get driven off the ball by linemen. But working around it is okay. We acknowledge this is it. We're going to call different plays as a result.
The old saying of you know, doing the same thing expecting different results. All right. I mean, like I don't get. I'm not very comfortable anytime I see us getting into an empty set 5 wide shotgun. I'm just not. I've seen us get under center, and I've seen us run the ball better from under center. I think Emmett, like from a pistol as an example, I think we'd see him have where he's getting the ball with some momentum under his belt already. I think we can. He's a good runner. I was disappointed in seeing Emmett not break a few runs in this last game. Where he had opportunities. So that's absolutely fixable. We don't have poor talent there. That's not necessarily the issue. And I would say on the O-line there, I think putting them in better positions. When we're showing a quarterback rolling out, when we're not going empty all the time, when you leave back more tight ends and running backs to chip block, all those things. There are things that you can do. That's playing to whatever your strengths are. It's not calling one individual out, because we've had multiple tackles out there, you know, left and right side. As Coach Rule said on the audio when we opened this up, I'm not calling out a defender when he missed tackled, because we had 40 missed tackles. But here's the good thing. Number one, again, we lost by 3. Okay, that should be noted in all of this discussion. Number 2, I can go back to when when Bill Bush took over on the defensive coordinator back in 2022 after Shenander's fired, and we're hearing for the first time that we're tackling in practice. I know that these guys are physical in practice. I know these are physical practices. I know that they're tackling. I know they're doing the right things. And so, you know, I give Michigan a lot of credit. I really do. I think Michigan I think they played a really top-notch game for them physically. I mean, I think they did. I never saw him miss one tackle other than that guy that blitzed on Raiola and missed that on that one play. That was it. And yet Raiola kept showing up play after play there. We need some guys to step up. Barney stepped up. McCullough stepped up. You know, Raiola played a great game there. We need to see some more of that. And then there's some guys that probably should feel a little embarrassed by their play. And there's some guys, as Emmett said, should be pissed off when they play next week. And I guess the best I can say is we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But I'm still really confident, and I'm not going to let a 3-point loss to Michigan all of a sudden derail all the hopes and dreams of this season. That part blows me away still.
Stu is so mad at you. Stu in the comments is so mad at you that you're stuck on this about it not being a 3-point loss. It was, Stu. Like, it was.
What is he saying? You're getting stuck on the final score. This was not a 3-point loss. Well, I said that it felt like it was a double-digit loss, but it wasn't. I said that, we left points out there on the field that Michigan didn't have anything to say about it. They didn't block our 30-some-yard field goal that would have made a tie game. They didn't do anything to prevent our receiver from running out of bounds on a touchdown catch. That took 4 points off that particular drive. And that's not to say that Michigan played a perfect game either. They would sit there and say, hey, we had a guy have a late penalty that kept the drive going. They did.
They had a drop touchdown.
I can't believe they didn't call time. I can't believe they didn't call timeout at the end of the first half. They even allowed us to get into a Hail Mary scenario. There is something to do with the fight, though, of the team. And this is, Boomer, I think you were one asking it earlier about, how is this different from the other one-score losses that we've had in the past? I don't know. It just felt different to me. I never felt like we were out of this game, even when I felt that at times it looked like they were pushing us around and they were tackling better than we were. I never felt we were out of the game. And that to me, some of this it's a gut feel thing, I guess. This was a real important game to see, kind of a litmus test. Where are we at? And I can totally understand Stu's point there. I can understand the fan that's like, wow, I didn't see what I wanted to see. And yet we lost by 3, and we had fight the whole dang time. And we took every one of their shots and we kept fighting back. I mean, there is something to be said there too, I think. I could be wrong.
Well, I'm just going to say that. Yeah, Stu made a point about we gave up 300 yards rushing, which is true. 290.
Sure.
And then they gave up 300 yards in the air, Stu. So.
Well, I get
just 300 yards. So
well,
what does that mean?
I get Stu's point there. I mean,
no,
I've long said a rushing yard.
Argue that like it's.
Yeah, I've said a rushing yard is worth more than a passing yard. If I was doing 1 for 1, I believe that. I mean, that's in my core there. I also think that they had 3 really big runs on us, and you can't separate them. I get it that they had those 3 big runs on us, but the rest of the runs, you remove the 3 big ones. A majority of the plays that, we held them for, I don't know what the average yard. Dave, did you ever see it? I think it was maybe like 4 yards a carry or something. If you take those 3 big ones out, they had the great, the great long one. And look, those 3 big ones, we showed one of them right there, the video. They've got to fix those things. They've got to fix those big explosive runs. Outside of that, I don't know. I'm not here to beat up on Stu's point there. I mean, it's fair. I also think that 3 points is an important thing here, because I think we're going to turn this thing around and get some W's. I think we're going to get them in October. We're going to get some W's. And I think we're going to look back on a season at one point and go, well, hey, we're sitting here at, we have 1 or 2 losses, and one of them was for 3 points to Michigan. And that does mean something, because I've seen us get blown out. I don't know. Probably rambling a little bit.
That's okay. That's what podcasts are for, right? Rambling. But.
Dave, how do you get me out of rambling here?
I don't know. I'm out of practice, Honk. I'm out of practice. Do we have any more tweets?
Well, we do, actually. We have one more tweet, and this actually moves us into volleyball. And this is from, let me bring it up here. This is from Justin Frommer here. He says, Nebraska AD Troy Danson on Husker Radio, that's pretty safe bet Nebraska volleyball will play at least 1, maybe a couple of volleyball matches a year in Pinnacle Bank Arena moving forward. And that gets us into the courtside cooking here. And let's play that. And so, Abby, pretty safe bet. Nebraska volleyball will play at least 1, maybe a couple of volleyball matches at Pinnacle Bank. That's on top of the fact that they are adding another, 1,000 or so seats to Devaney Center. I mean, that shows where we're at right now with volleyball from an interest level. We just had 17,000 plus fans, an indoor NCAA volleyball record in Omaha at the CHI Center. So things are looking good there.
Yeah, it seems like we're doing something right somewhere in our athletics. Our women continue to be undefeated, by the way. Women's sports are still undefeated. Soccer tied with Penn State, and women volleyball's 10-0. Yeah, I think that's great. I love that. I think Wisconsin plays a couple games a year in the Kohl Center. I think, Purdue's playing a couple games in Mackey. They did that last year. They're doing it again. I think that's great. I mean, if the audience is there, why not give them? And plus I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to get Nebraska volleyball tickets. So if you play in a bigger place and it gets more people the opportunity to go see them, and it raises the stakes on it a little bit. Because you think about, like, when you play at a different place. So the fact that we're going to be playing something at PBA, it's going to get talked about, and it's going to get like within even like volleyball circles get talked about, and other coaches want to do things. I mean, Kelly Sheffield had a great tweet after the Nebraska Creighton game praising it and just being like, this is what the sport needs to do. Let's do more of this. And that's the thing. So like when one school starts to do it, other schools start to go to those bigger places. And I just think that's great for the sport as a whole, for the players, for everybody who wants to see them. I don't know, you want to bring more revenue in, you gotta keep up in the game. And if that's the only way that we can justify volleyball getting rev share money, then I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I'm not over that. I'm not over that argument that like volleyball doesn't deserve
give a little.
share,
So Abby, give a little context to the viewers and listeners that don't know what that's referring to there. By the way,
yeah. So there was it goes back to what Matt Rule said about, he was asked, like, would you like to get another running back in the portal? Would you have liked to have gotten another one? And he said, yeah. There's just some teams have the money for it, which I actually think was more of a like, we weren't willing to pay that much money for a running back, but whatever, a whole different conversation. Somebody brought up the point that like volleyball shouldn't be taking money away from football, which got into a whole thing of like volleyball doesn't really take away money from football. And then I don't know, but rev share is a finite pot. So if other sports get money, football doesn't get money. And it turned into a whole thing about like what sports deserve rev share or not. And apparently because volleyball is only somewhat like only kind of successful in terms of turning a revenue, they don't actually deserve money, and that money should go to football and men's basketball because they need it more. And we can have a top volleyball program without rev share, which is a whole bunch of lies, but that's fine. So that's where that comes from. A couple of like troll burner accounts have decided that volleyball doesn't actually deserve money and is apparently the reason football isn't successful. Which it's a weird thing to hate on one of the most successful programs that you have. But I would believe that Matt Rule would fight against that wholeheartedly. I think a rising ocean lifts all ships. I don't know what the saying is, but
yeah, a rising tide lifts all boats. Yeah.
There it is.
But
thanks.
yeah, I mean, just in terms of there's no hard numbers on any of this, but typically what most people say is what I've seen on revenue sharing is they estimate about 75% of any university's revenue share goes to football, about 15% to men's basketball, and then that remaining 10% is divvied up among the remaining sports how they see fit. And if schools chose to offer additional scholarships to other programs, depending on the sports it is, that comes out of that revenue sharing pot. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, the amount of money we'd be talking about that these other sports take away from football is pretty minuscule. I'd referenced it kind of in my opening statement where Rule's talking there's $40 million rosters on there. I mean, revenue sharing total is $20 million. So a lot of this is probably an NIL sort of thing where that money is coming from outside sources other than the university. And do we have that money? Maybe not. There's some clearly rich programs out there. And I think it's probably more what he's referencing at that point. He referenced it in a press conference where if you want to write a check to 1890, you can go do that. Then we can talk about whatever you want to, what personnel you need. So I don't think it's any particular. I think at volleyball or any of the other sports are taking a huge pot of money away from football. They're just not. So I think that money's more of an NIL thing at this point.
Yeah, I tend to agree, which is where I think volleyball is not impacting it. I don't think the people who are donating to volleyball are the ones who are just like, you know what, let's not donate to football. I think those are different. I don't think it's impacting it enough to be why we're not getting why we didn't get Shamar Brown. But that's anyway. Which is just to say, we go back, if we can increase viewership, if we can increase attendance, if we can increase the visibility of the sport of volleyball, that's good for the sport, that's good for the team, that's good for the university. That's all good. I see no downsides to playing more games at PBA. Everybody I know who went to First Serve said it was a great environment, minus the PA people, which we wouldn't have if it was Big Ten play. And it's a cool environment. I just think we should do more things like that, build up more opportunities for people to get to go see these amazing women play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had an opportunity today, Rotary Club, to watch Troy Dan come and speak. And he talked a little bit about this, and there's 4 sports that are part of the revenue share: football, men's and women's basketball, and volleyball. Volleyball is one of the, if not the only volleyball program in the country that more than breaks even. It makes revenue. And so, you feed the pot that is giving you revenue. I thought Dan also made a really good point here about how, for, a lot of what he hears from people, he'll look at it, that you email him and, tell him whatever you want. He'll look it up and go, okay, well, what are you giving something to us? If not, I can't listen to you. I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to somebody that's not trying to pay something here to help us be part of the problem or part of the solution, and that's what comes down to. I mean, they're talking about, when you have all these seats in the stadium, they have to reseat people. That's a tough choice to make. But at some point, you've got someone that's sitting next to someone and they're not paying the same amount. Then we're going to start doing that. And they're going to do that in volleyball as well. They're going to have to reseat volleyball as they redo the Vandy Center. It's not an easy choice to make, but at the end of the day, that money comes in and that money helps so that we can continue to have, be competitive, more than competitive when it comes to what it takes to have these rosters down. This is the NCAA today. He mentioned that, there's people that they just don't like the fact that we have to pay players. I don't disagree with that. I really don't. But, this is the system that we have now. So you pay to play it.
We adjust or die. So,
one of the things he also said, and I don't want to take this too much away from just the volleyball talk, but this, Dan talked about one of the things he loves about Husker fans. He called it the give a darn factor. He said when he was at Washington, they lost the national championship game, and the next morning there was nobody cared. And he's like, look, everything that we've talked about for the last hour plus about this game, and even the stay off of Twitter folks that we talked to, that it's the fact that people care this much, and that's important, and that really does matter. I will tell you who else cares. These coaches care. Dan talked about he didn't sleep on Saturday night, and I don't think, and he also said Rule didn't either. And you look at Rule in that presser, Rule looked like a guy that hadn't slept a whole lot. I mean, I am confident. I truly am confident here. And people can come back and bookmark this show and come back and if we lose the next 8 games, they can come back and call me a big dummy. I don't care. That's fine. But I am confident that we have the right things in place, the right people in place, we have the right folks in place to do this. But we got to see it. So I get it. I get the frustration that people have, but
I'll call you also right now, Honky, just for the fun of it. Really.
What's that, Dave?
So I'll call you a big dummy right now, just for the fun of it.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. Anyways,
where we don't have to call anybody a dummy, Honky, is when we do talk about our. Oh, sorry. Oh no.
What's up, Abby? Abby, can you hear us? We must.
Wait.
Are we?
We see Abby.
Okay. Well, we see Abby. We can hear Abby.
Can
you hear us, Abby?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can.
Yes,
hear
it froze for a minute, and then I thought I'm not just going to keep talking.
Okay.
Okay.
So continue.
Well, what I was gonna say was very clunkily say that we don't have to worry. The coaches we don't have to worry about losing sleep are our volleyball coaches, because we're still undefeated and we're still ranked number 1, and we still are, the number 1 team in the Big 12, in the Big 10. Golly, I'm going to get that conference wrong. Which is exciting. That's a great thing. Let's focus on that. Happy things.
Yeah. Play.
We start conference
Michigan
play on Wednesday.
Tomorrow night we start with Michigan.
We play Michigan tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Maryland. Oh gosh.
Abby, can I ask you a question, a big picture question on if there's been any, I know you guys talk about this a lot when I'm not always on the show, but it is really amazing how much volleyball is now on TV, right? I mean, it was just a year ago that it was a big deal that we were on ABC and whatnot for the very first time, or on ESPN and flagship channel. Now we're seeing stuff on Fox all the time, right? I mean, is there any national articles or journalists really following this huge boom in the volleyball TV? It's really amazing that they just finally realized what we've been saying forever, which is volleyball is a great TV sport, and they should have it on way more.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything directly talking about it. Not this year. I'm sure there is, and I can go try to find something. I'm sure Lincoln has written something about
You
it.
should write something, is what I'm saying, Abby. You should get someone to write.
I'm on it. I'll do it.
It's really amazing. I mean,
I'll do it.
it's a
Yeah.
big deal.
No, it really is. I think we've talked about, like, in the past, and I don't know when, how long ago, I can't remember off the top of my head, where like all the rounds leading up to the national semifinals, if you wanted to watch Nebraska play, it was on any TV, right? It was on like Nebraska Public Media. You can't watch other ones. Like, I've tried to go on YouTube and I've tried to find national semifinal games on YouTube, and it is so hard. And this is from like not even the early 2000s, like 2017. And now, yeah, the first rounds are on like ESPN Plus, and that kind of sucks. But then more earlier and earlier in the tournament, you're getting these games on national TV. We get ABC games, we get ESPN games. Every single Nebraska volleyball game, and we're a little bit lucky in that regard, but most Big Ten teams especially are aired. You can watch them on BTN Plus usually, or go back and watch them on BTN Plus. They're always available. Other conferences don't have that luxury. Like Creighton's kind of fun because they have
half the time.
They do have that fun. They also have like a YouTube channel that they air games on, which is amazing. But like the SEC doesn't do that. So Kentucky, for example, hosted a tournament, and it was like Purdue versus SMU. So these are ranked volleyball teams. It wasn't aired anywhere. You can't watch it. You can't watch it. It's not aired anywhere. You can never go back and rewatch it. And so like, while we're doing a lot of really great work and doing that, there's so much more to do. And this is something I've been harping that, like, I love that the Big Ten has like taken the reins and is like, yep, we're going to do it. We will air as much as we can. We have, if that weren't a Kentucky game, if that had been hosted by a Big Ten team, that would have been aired. It would be on BTN Plus or somewhere. So I think in that regard, like, we've come so far. You're absolutely right. We've come so far in these games. We still have so much work to do. But I'm really proud of being part of the conference that is like being the first and taking the stand and airing so many games and allowing so many to be played on ABC and ESPN and Fox Sports 1 and all of that, which I think is great. The sport, obviously, we have so much work to do, but it's leaps and bounds. You're absolutely right. Leaps and bounds from where we were even just a handful of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
I'll do some history on it, though. I'll come back to you with that.
All right.
Well, we've gone for about an hour and 20 minutes there. I don't know. I hope we accomplished something. It was fun. We had a good time with it. Dave, I'm going to hand it over to you to do the parting shots here.
All right. Sounds good. Let's start with Boomer.
Well, just a fun show. We got a bye week coming up, so we can all kick back and relax. It is actually a pretty good bye week of college football, so it's going to just kind of be fun to sit and watch. There's a lot of good games this weekend. And it is also the final weekend for the AFL Premiership, Geelong versus Brisbane. That's Friday night. If you're up pretty late, I think 11:30 our time. So I'm sorry, Archie, your Collingwood didn't make it. They got knocked out by Brisbane, but we can still enjoy the Premiership and the grand final there. So if you haven't watched AFL, go ahead and give it a shot. So see where our punter gets his
absolutely.
skills. Yep.
I would say that the Australian rules football playoffs are hard to follow because they're all night games in Australia, which do not translate well to our time zone. But
no, the
grand final that we're referring to is a afternoon matchup in Australia, so it is on a more reasonable time frame. So
it is, but us dedicated fans will stick through it regardless. So,
well, that and you're an insomniac, you can be up at 4 a.m. So it's okay.
Well, that too, yes, that does help. Yeah.
All right, Abby, what do you got?
Oh boy, I had it. Yeah. So sorry. Conference play for volleyball's Wednesday. We play Michigan. Thursday, soccer plays Michigan. Big week for Nebraska versus Michigan. But beyond Nebraska, if we're talking about our bye week and what to watch, just keep in mind that the duality of the Big Ten that plays on Saturday, where we get Penn State versus Oregon, the same day we get UCLA versus Northwestern. So much football.
That's right. That's right. All right, Honk, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to keep harping on that old 3-point loss. Keep the faith, Husker fans, Redcasters. I think that there's a lot of good football that's going to be ahead of us. I think we're going to get some more wins this season. I think we're going to be closer to that, those numbers of wins that people are hoping going into the season. 8, 9, even 10 is still potentially out there, I think, for us. And there's so much to be gained and learned from this game. We needed to play Michigan to kind of gauge where we were at, to see where we're at. And there's so much that we can improve off of this. And I love the approach that you're seeing Emmett take. I think you're going to see a team that's focused and pissed and wants to get this taste out of their mouth there. These players, these athletes across the board, I'm just telling you, there's a lot of give a darn from them as well that Troy Dan talked about. He mentioned a couple things today that I thought I wanted to highlight. He said, from a mental health standpoint, 1/3 of the athletes that come to Nebraska, when they come here, they already are on some kind of medication when it comes to mental health. And I think it's important how we interact with players and how we interact with people on social media. I think that's important. He kind of halfway, he mentioned some death threats that people have, and that we've had, coaches that will get stuff, and you never know what's serious, what's not. They've had to send protection once to a coach's house. He didn't say who. And the point is, these are things that as fans, these are things that we can control. And so we can have real hearty debate like we had tonight. We talked about plays and nuances and getting down into, 125 yards rushing that they had on the 28 carries that weren't the 3 big ones that they had, right? We can get down into that level of discussion. And at the end of the day, that's a whole lot different than taking this into different kind of spaces. And what we don't need, I hope we've learned over the last, 20 years of this, is that every time we lose a game, we don't need to be calling for every single coach and everything, all the change. I think we've got a lot of good base built into this program here. Let's keep building on it, and let's see what happens here the rest of the season. I'm very excited to see where this team still goes from here. And I think we've got a lot of good to build off of. So, this is an interesting show, Dave. I don't know if it was the typical chipper one or what.
Scarlet colored glasses on, and that's
go.
okay.
That's
this is the time to put them on. I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Great show. A lot of fun. Just also want to call out that my daughter Elle turned 10 today. She is a decade old. So happy birthday, Elle. And I'm going to go inside and watch a movie with her. So let's call that another Go Big Redcast.
GBR.
A Herd at Sports Network production.